Hi, welcome back to my subscribers and welcome to any new people that's watching my channel for the first time. Firstly, I'd like to say thanks to all the new subscribers for joining my channel and also the regulars for supporting my channel as well. The subscriber count is increasing, which is great, and hopefully I'd like to get to 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. So if you could help support by subscribing, that would be great. Hopefully you're liking this content that I'm producing on the channel, and I'm hopefully going to be bringing bigger and more content to the channel soon as well. Anyway, moving on, this video is about password managers. Have you ever used an online password manager such as this one, or this one, or this one, or this one? Well, I have in the past, and due to all the hacks, bad press, flaws in their systems, I decided to look for an alternative. And the alternative was keeping my password manager local to my own systems rather than cloud-based systems, which I think overall is more secure than what a cloud-based system seems to be at the moment with all the bad press going on. So I found this one. Been using it for a while now, and I thought I'd produce a video showing you what I use mine for, how I set it up, and how I use it in my Windows PC. So let's get straight down to the video. So here we are at the official KeePass Password Safe website, and the website address for this is keepass.info, as you will see on the address bar here. Of course, you can always use a search engine to find the website as well. So the first thing you need to do is go to the latest news, which is on the home page here, and click on KeePass, and in this case it's the latest version I'm using, which is 2.53. Click on that, and then when you are taken to the next page, it will say KeePass 253 has been released today. You can get it here, so download KeePass, in this case version 2.53. So click on the latest version, whichever that might be at the time you're watching this video. Then you'll be taken to the next page where there's different versions of KeePass. In this case I'm going to be using the installer for Windows. However, there is also a portable version which can be installed on, for example, a USB memory stick, and then it can be used in multiple devices as and when required. However, I prefer to install it on the devices locally to which I want KeePass to be used. KeePass does actually support Windows 7, 8, 10, 11, both 32-bit and 64-bit versions, and also it will run on Mono, Linux, Mac OS and BSD, for example. With regards to Android and iPhone devices, there are unofficial alternatives, and as I have an Android tablet and also an Android smartphone, I find that KeePass Droid is about the best version for use on those devices under contributed unofficial KeePass ports. There are other versions, for example, for an iPad or Mac OS or iPhones, and as you will see in the list here, you can just choose the one that you prefer. So going back to this, on the Windows PC, I'm going to use the installer for Windows, which is version 2.53 as of today, and I'm going to click download now, which will then take me to the SourceForge. It should download the application automatically, and here you will see that it's downloaded KeePass version 2.53 setup. So from this downloads folder we will click on the application. It's now giving me a security warning asking me if I want to run the application. You probably can't see this on the screen at the moment, but I'm going to click run in the box, and now I'm being shown a window on the screen, as you will see here, which is asking me to select the language to use during installation. In this case I'm selecting English and clicking on OK. Then the next window, which you can see here, has appeared, asking me to accept the license agreement. So I will then select I accept the agreement and click Next. It's then asking me to choose a location where the program files will be installed. I'm going to leave this as default, which is C Program Files KeePass Password Safe 2, and then click the Next button, and it's now prompting me to say that the folder already exists. It does already exist in my case because I'm already using KeePass Password Safe, so I will go ahead and click Yes to select the folder to install it to. Now the next window to appear is this one you can see on the screen, and it's giving me the option to select full installation, compact installation or custom installation. In this case I'm going to select full installation and then click Next, and now it's prompting me to associate KeePass with the .kdbx file extension. Here I will leave that box ticked so that it associates it with the KeePass database files. If you want a shortcut creating on your desktop or on your quick launch, you need to tick either or both of those boxes. In this case I'm going to have it create a quick launch shortcut and then select Next. Here you'll then be prompted to say ready to install, and it's ready to install KeePass onto your system. So click the install button, wait for the procedure to finish installing, and then it will provide you with the following window saying completing the KeePass Password Safe setup wizard, and it's asking me to launch KeePass, which is ticked, and also open the plugins web page, which is unticked. You can leave that unticked for the time being, but launch KeePass, make sure that is ticked. Then click the Finish button, and once KeePass has been installed, it will then automatically open the application. You will be then prompted with a window about Enable Automatic Update Check. I choose Disable at the moment as I like to manually update most of my programs where possible, but if you want to enable automatic updates you can do. You will then be provided with the KeePass program window where you can select various options and also create your first KeePass database. So to create your first KeePass database, you will click on New Database, which is the first icon as you will see here. You will then be prompted with a confirmation window saying your data will be stored in a KeePass database file, which is a regular file. After clicking OK, you will be prompted to specify the location where KeePass should save this file. It is important that you remember where the database file is stored, and you should regularly create a backup of the database file onto an independent data storage device. Now please take note of this. Now, although I'm saving my database file onto a network attached storage device, which I can access via any of my devices when on my home network, if out and about, for example, where I'm using public Wi-Fi, then you might need to choose an alternative storage device, for example a USB flash drive which can be plugged into your mobile device, or create a copy of your database file and save it onto each local device that you will be needing to access. For example, save the database file locally on your smartphone, tablet, and then on your home PC or Mac or laptop, whichever devices you need to keep the database on. As I said earlier, I'm trying to get away from storing files in the cloud, I'm finding that I'm trying to store files locally rather than cloud-based systems. So moving on, it's asking me to create a new database. Here I will click OK, and then you should see now that it's asking me to choose a location where my database file will be stored. In this case, I'm going to be storing it onto the data Z drive, which is a location on my NAS, but you need to choose the location where you want your database stored yourself, and which can be easily accessed to be backed up and copied as and when required. So you'll be prompted with the Explorer window where you want the database file to be stored, and also the file name. In this case, it's choosing a default file name of database. I'm going to rename this to KeePass Database and then click Save. You will then be prompted with a window, as you will see on screen, asking me to create with a master password. So here you will create the master password, which should be as secure as possible, containing random uppercase, lowercase characters and also symbols, and if you can as well, random words. The more secure it is likely to be. So I'm typing in my password, which is 18 characters, as you'll see on the screen here, and it's a 79-bit password. So I'll also add some random words in the password to make it even more secure, which has then changed it to a 136-bit password as being 32 characters. So I'll retype the password in the repeat password box to confirm that the password is okay. And then once you've done that, make a note of this master password, because without it you will not be able to access your KeePass database where all your passwords and credentials are stored. So please make a note of your master password now before you move on to the next step. Do not save your master password on your computer or any device, and I would recommend that you write the password down on paper and keep it somewhere safe. So when you've done that, click OK. You will then be presented with the following window saying database settings, and underneath that it shows you the location where your KeePass database is stored, and then underneath that we are in by default the General tab. Move on and click the Security tab. Underneath the Security tab you will see that it's asking you to choose the encryption type and the database file encryption algorithm. I'm leaving it as AES 256-bit key FIPS 197 as the database file algorithm, which is the default one automatically provided when the window appears. And then under key transformation, it's saying the master key is transformed using a key derivation function. This adds a work factor and makes dictionary and guessing attacks harder. So the key derivation function is AES KDF by default, and I will leave that as it is, and the iterations are set as 60,000. I will leave that as default and then click the next tab, which is for compression. Underneath compression you can choose none or gzip. I'm leaving my database compression method as gzip, which is the default. Then move on to the recycle bin, and in that option you will see that it's already default ticked as use recycle bin. If this option is enabled, KeePass moves entries groups to the recycle bin group instead of deleting them. Deleting an entry or group from the recycle bin will permanently remove it. I, in this case, do not want to use the recycle bin to recover any entries, as when I've deleted them, I want them to be gone straight away. So I'm unticking that option, but you will need to choose the option that you prefer. Then once you've done that, click on Advanced. It will then provide you with the window with the details about templates. Here you can enter templates for creating new entries, which I'll not go into at this point in time, probably in another video. And then moving down to automatic entry history maintenance, you can limit the number of history items per entry. Now what this does is record a history in each database entry. When, for example, you change a password, it will create an automatic history and it will record by default 10 historic items. And it will also limit the history size per entry as 6 megabytes. You can leave those as default with the options ticked. Then moving down to master key, there's options to recommend changing the master key after a number of days. This is unticked by default, and I choose to leave it unticked and change my master key as and when, rather than on a specific schedule. But you need to choose the option that you best think is suitable for your requirements and also for your security requirements. So choose the option you prefer. Moving down to force changing the master key. Again, you can choose to force you to change the master key every number of days. This option is unticked by default. And then moving down to the next option, you can force changing the master key at next time, and that's once. Those three options, as I say, are unticked by default, but you need to choose which options you prefer to use. So once you have done that, you can click OK. There you will then be prompted with another window asking you to create an emergency sheet, and it reports that a KeePass emergency sheet contains all important information that is required to open your database. It should be printed, filled out and stored in a secure location where only you and possibly a few other people that you trust have access to. It is recommended that you create an emergency sheet for your database. So let's create emergency sheet by clicking the print button. Following clicking that, I've now been prompted with a print dialog box where I will be clicking on the print button to print out the emergency sheet. Just waiting for that to finish printing. You can probably hear the noise in the background, and I'll explain what the sheet contains. It's showing a KeePass emergency sheet with the database file, location, and below that is a box where you can fill in where the backups of your KeePass database are stored, for example on a flash drive in a drawer somewhere. So here you can write the location where the backup database file is stored, and then underneath that there's another box with a master key, and it's showing master password and prompting you to write the master password in the box in case you forget it, which I said when creating the master password that you should write it down. So keep it on that sheet and then keep that emergency sheet safe somewhere where you know where it's being kept and where it will not be lost. So moving on, you will then be presented with the actual KeePass program window where you'll see that there's 2 sample entries which have been created automatically by the program. Here you can make the window a bit bigger, as I've just done here, and you can also change the size of the columns for the database entries, as you can see I've just done now. So to create a new database entry, you click on the 4th icon from the left, which is a key symbol with a little green blob above the key, and it shows add entry when you hover over the icon. So click that icon, and then a second window will appear, as you'll see on screen at the moment. showing add entry and create a new entry. Here you'll enter the title, for example, of the website to which you want the credentials storing, for example, Google account. The next box across you can choose an icon which will show up in a database entry for which you want. For example, if it's a website, click on the icon which is at the moment set by default as a yellow key. Then you will be presented with an icon picker window where you can choose the icon you want the entry to have against it. For example, let's choose, if it's a website, let's choose the globe icon number 1, and then you'll see on the screen at the moment it's changed the icon to the globe icon, as you'll see here. So moving down, we then enter the username, and this will be your account login username. So at the moment I'll choose test@test.com as the username, and moving down to the password box and the repeat box, you will see here there's a selection of dots. This means that it's automatically created a password for you. If you want to view the password, you can click on the show hide password button, which is at the end of the password box, as you'll see I'm hovering over here. So if you click that, it will reveal the password that it's automatically generated for you. The repeat box will then be greyed out. Then moving down under quality, you'll see that it's selected a 116-bit 20 character password. You can of course make these passwords even longer, which should in theory make them more secure, by clicking the generate a password box, which is at the end of the greyed out repeat line. So if you click that, it will bring a menu up, which you probably can't see on screen unfortunately at the moment. The menu pops up with open password generator, derived from previous password, automatically generated passwords for new entries. Then underneath that it's saying hex key 40-bit, hex key 128-bit, hex key 256-bit, or MAC address. Now you can select either one of those options to create the password with. I prefer to choose automatically generated passwords for new entries, which it will automatically create a new password anyway when you add a new entry into the database. So moving down under quality, you will see that there's a box with the URL. Here you will type in or copy and paste from the website address in your browser the website where the account is allocated to, for example google.com. Then moving down to notes, you can type in various notes, account numbers, details, any notes about the account that you wish to choose there. It's a free type box, so you can type in anything you wish. So once you have entered those details, then moving across to auto type, here you will see that it's bringing up the tab window which shows enable auto type for this entry, which is ticked, and then underneath that you'll say inherit default auto type sequence from group, and that should be marked with a blue dot as well. And what this will do is automatically type the username, then it will automatically press the tab key, then it will automatically enter the password, and it will automatically select the enter key. So basically it will type in the username, move to the next box with the tab key, enter the password, and then select your enter, which should then log you into the website automatically. So to explain what auto type entries do, as you'll see here, I'm editing one of my already existing entries, and here you'll see that it's enabled auto type for this entry, which is ticked, and then it's selected as override default sequence. What this does is, for example, there are some websites which would require you to enter the username. Then once you have entered your username, they would move on to another web page where you will then be able to enter your password. Now, what the standard inherit default autotype sequence from group does is, in some cases it won't work and you have to select override default sequence, which is easily done. Now, in this entry in squiggled brackets, you will see that I've entered squiggle bracket left, username, squiggle bracket to the right, squiggle bracket to the left, tab, squiggle bracket to the right. Now, each sequence has to be enclosed in squiggled brackets, which, if you're on a UK-based keyboard, it's for the two keyboard keys to the right of the P character on your keyboard, which you'd select using the shift and then the left or right squiggle brackets. The official name for this I don't know, but I call it squiggle bracket, and hopefully you'll see what I mean from the entry on the screen. Now here, what it will do is enter the username, then it will click the tab key, and then it will press the enter key. Then it will have a delay of 5,000, which what this does is delays the subsequent entry of password by 5 seconds, which gives it time to move on to the next web page where the password would be entered. In normal circumstances, you would type in your username, select enter, wait for the next web page to load, then you would enter your password and then press enter. So what this is doing is entering the username, selecting the tab option, which would move it to the enter icon on the web page. Then it's selecting the enter key on your keyboard, waiting 5 seconds for the password selection box to appear. Then it's pressing the tab key in the web page and selecting enter, which would be the enter button on the web page, for example. This would then auto type all of your username and password details into that website correctly. Hopefully you'll be able to understand what it's doing, but if not, there's a very good help section on this. If you click what is this, or if you press F1 key in the program, it will take you onto the help section of the program where it provides a very good help file, default sequences that KeePass provides. Most websites are selected as inherit default autotype sequence, but some of them, as I say, you have to override the default sequence. But once you've done this a few times, you'll get used to how the keywords are entered. So I'll click cancel here and go back to my database, main database window. Now what I've done is gone back to my main database window, and then from the top of the window I've selected options from the pull down menu, and here you'll see that it takes you into the options policy tab. Then moving across to the integration tab, here you will see that it's saying a global autotype entry is Control plus Alt plus A, which enters a global autotype field for the website or login page that you're on. It will global autotype the entry with a press of the Control, Alt and A key. Now moving down to autotype selected entry, here you'll see that it's got the F2 key entered in that box. Going back to what I've just said about the autotype entries, so what this does is whenever I press the F2 key on a database entry, it will autotype those details into the, for example, website, which will then log me into the relevant website with the username and password stored in that database entry. You can select any key you like as the auto type, but I choose to have it as F2. Just bear in mind though, you cannot use the key that's already allocated to the program. For example, the F1 key is already allocated in the program as the help key, so you would not be able to use the auto type selected entry as the F1 key. Moving across to the advanced tab, I tend to leave all these options in there as default. As you'll see, some are ticked, unticked, but if you want to go into detail of what each entry does specifically, you can go into the help section on the website. So moving on to the plugins option, you can also download various plugins for KeePass. For example, you can have two-factor authentication plugins, which will provide two-factor authentication keys. For example, nowadays a lot of websites are giving you the option to select two-factor authentication in addition to entering a username and password. What this plugin does that I have is create and provide two-factor authentication. At the moment, I still need to test this on websites as I've only just added the plugin option to it, but you'll find the plugin on the KeePass website. If you want to use the plugin yourself, you need to go to the keepass.info homepage, select plugins, extensions from the left hand side menu, and under integration and transfer I selected KeePass OTP, which is generate TOTP HOTP authentication codes. So this is the plugin that I've selected and installed in KeePass. You'll find information in the help section and also on the associated plugin website on how to add the plugin into KeePass, but it's very easy to do. That's it for basic setting up. So that's how you set up KeePass for basic day-to-day operations. There are many advanced options in the program which I won't go into detail here as it make the video too long, but hopefully you've found this very useful and hopefully you'll find KeePass very useful. So to create a backup of your database once you've entered the entries, you would then need to go to File, Save As, and then Save Copy to File is the option you need to select, which will then bring up a window as you will see on screen, prompting me for a location where to save the backup database to, and in this case I'm saving it to a network drive on a Synology NAS. Here it will prompt you to enter a file name for the database, which you can choose any file name you wish, and then click the save button, and that's saved a copy of the database. I would recommend keeping more than one backup copy of the database. For example, keep it on a network drive and also a flash drive, and also keep it on another device, for example a tablet or a smartphone. Hopefully you found this video very useful, and hopefully you'll enjoy using KeePass Password Safe for many years to come. Now, I don't claim this program to be 100% secure, but I've been using it for quite a while now and I find it very useful. It gives you the option to create different passwords for every different website you access or every different account you access, which makes obviously your accounts and websites more secure as they all have different passwords. And as I said, you can also enable two-factor authentication using the two-factor authentication plugins. Now, KeePass is a totally free program, although you can donate money if you wish and you find this useful. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Please keep a lookout for further videos coming again soon. Please hit the subscribe and like, and thanks to all those that have subscribed to my channel so far. Take care and see you again soon.